So next up we have this candle holder right here. So it's going to be a little bit of a different workflow. Before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and hide my scroll, make a new collection, and call this candle holder. So before we get started, I'm going to bring in a reference image. And a reference image, these are super common. I'm going to go ahead and go into my front view, go into Shift A, and then do image, reference image. And then inside of the starter kit, there'll be references, and then there'll be this candle holder.jpg. If you guys want to find your own, that's great as well. This is just a screenshot of the exact model that I ended up with. And now that it's going to be in this front view, so if you create whatever view you end up creating this in is where it's going to actually position itself. So you might have to zero some of this stuff out if you need to, but I'm just going to go ahead and move this back. And then now instead of creating it from a curve, I'm going to create it from a mesh. And I'm going to start with a cube. And you might wonder, why would I start with a cube if I'm working with this? So this is actually the way I prefer to do this stuff. I prefer to work in object edit mode rather than actually spline and NURBS mode. And you'll see kind of why in a little bit. But right now what I'm going to do is make sure I have my vert selection on, select everything, and then just go ahead and go to Alt-M, and then we're just going to merge at center. And then I'm going to jump into my front view, and now I'm going to go in here. Now we essentially have this single point to work with. And if we go ahead and just move this up to the top, what we can now do is use our hotkey E for extrusion. Now we can create an edge or a spline just out of polygons, just like this. And the reason why I like to work this way is just because the polygon mode typically ends to be, it's just more familiar, I think, and it's really flexible. And you have access to all of your other modeling tools, so there's no weirdness with the splines. So I use this a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue this going down. While I'm doing this, I just want to make sure I'm keeping a consistent density. Obviously getting a little bit broader around these bigger broad strokes, but and getting a little bit tighter as we go. But we can always do some modeling operations on top of this. So right now what I'm looking for is just a base shape. I'm not necessarily worried about hard edges or anything like that. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to keep going down, as we get these broader curves. I don't have to go so sharp, but I do want to keep that consistent density. And there we go. Now if I just tab out of that, we now have our edge. And essentially if we go back into edit mode, now all we have to do is if I just select everything, I can then go to spin. And as soon as I click this, we're going to get this little thing. And if I just go ahead and click on one side and just grab and drag it out just like this, I'm going to let go. And then as soon as I let go, I'm just going to go to my spin and make sure that I'm on negative 360. So it's going to be a full 360. And the steps, I'm just going to make this something like 16. So what I'm looking at whenever I'm judging these steps is these quads right here. So I want these to be quads. I don't want them to necessarily be really stretched out. So maybe something closer to 8 actually. We'll stick with 8. So next problem that we have is we have these interior gaps. So we'll fix that in the next chapter.